To start today's video, I'm going to have you classify whether this line is parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So right now I'd like you to pause the video and tell me whether it's parallel, perpendicular, or neither, and check your answer with mine. So as you can see, one of the equations is written in slope-intercept form and the other one is not. So I just left that one as it is, and I had to change this first one into slope-intercept form, which means get y by itself, so I divided everything by 4. I got y equals negative 5 over 4 because I just left it as a fraction. X plus 12 divided by 4 is 3. So now I have to compare these two slope-intercept forms. I noticed that this slope is 4 over 5 and this slope is negative 5 over 4. Those are opposite reciprocals. If I want to make sure, I'm going to multiply them together. It comes out to be negative 20 over 20, which is negative 1. So they are negative reciprocals, so they are perpendicular. So today we're going to learn how to write an equation of a perpendicular line. It's very similar to how to write an equation for a parallel line. Again, they give us a point and they tell us that they want our new line to be perpendicular to this old line. Now the first thing, just like you do with parallel lines, is you look at the slope. And the slope for this line that they gave us was negative 5 over 6. So now we need to find what would our slope be if we want it to be perpendicular. Well, we know that we have to find the opposite reciprocal, which means we flip the fraction, and it's already a negative, so we're just going to leave it as 6 over 5. Now, since this is a multiple choice question, I can basically just go over here and say, okay, this has the same slope as that one, so that one's wrong, because that means they're parallel, not perpendicular. This one has the same slope, parallel. So A and B are out. So we don't even have to worry about A or B. We know C and D are both still in the running because they both have a slope of 6 over 5, which is perpendicular to negative 5 over 6. Now we just need to know which one has the correct B, which is either a 3 or a negative 5. And the way that we do that is we have our new slope and we have our point, so we have to do our point slope form. So we're going to do this, here's x1 and here's y1, so we're going to do y minus 15 equals negative, not negative, 6 over 5x, parentheses, or not, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Trying to go back in time and now I'm going forward. There we go. My m is 6 over 5 parentheses x minus 10. Now we need to get y by itself, so we need to distribute first. So we have y minus 15 equals 6 over 5x minus, now how are we going to do 6 over 5 times negative 10? We just do 6 over 5 times negative 10 over 1. That gives us negative 60 over 5, which is negative 12. So we're going to have 6 over 5x minus 12. The last step is to bring this negative 15 over to bring this 15 over to the other side. So we add 15, and we end up with y equals 6 over 5x negative 12 plus 15 is a positive 3. So my answer is C. C is perpendicular to y equals negative 5 over 6x minus 2. Now I'm going to move this out of the way. See if I can. And now I want you to focus on this one. A line passes through this point, 1, 8, and is perpendicular to the graph y equals 2x plus 1. So right away, perpendicular means opposite reciprocal slopes. So that means we should be able to change 2 into negative 1 over 2. That is the opposite reciprocal of 2. So now we have our slope and we have our point. We have to do our point slope. So y minus our y1, which remember this is x1 and this is y1. So y minus 8 equals negative 1/2 times x minus 1. we need to distribute the negative 1/2 to the x and the negative 1, which is negative 1/2 x plus 1/2. We're going to add 8 to both sides. I don't know why I put that y right there. We're going to add 8 to both sides. That crosses this 8 out, and we have y equals negative 1/2 x plus 1/2 plus 8 is 8.5, or you could write 8.5. This line is perpendicular. That was a weird line there, but to that line. Notice their slopes are opposite reciprocals, which means it's a perpendicular line. Last problem here. Okay, and it's very similar just in a real world situation. Carla is using a coordinate grid to make a map of her hometown. She plots Main Street, so this line right here is Main Street. If 3rd Street is perpendicular to Main Street, so it's going to be going this way, it's going to intersect it, at 5, 7. So I'm going to go find 5, 7. It's right here. So this is where 3rd Street is, and it must go through something like this. That didn't even go through the dot, but you get my point. So we need to figure out the equation for 3rd Street. So again, we have our point, which is 5, 7. So if we did our point slope form, we would say y, here's our x1, here's our y1, y minus 7 equals our slope, x minus 5. Now you saw that I put a line right here because they don't give us the slope in the problem. That's because we can find the slope from this line. Here's a dot, here's a dot, we work left to right. So down 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the slope is negative 1 over 5. So how do I solve this problem? Well, first I'm going to get rid of this here so we can focus on the point slope form, getting it by itself. As you can see, this isn't going really well, but because this picture is taking up too much space. But anyways, we'll move on. We have to distribute the negative 1 over 5 to both the x and the negative 5. So we have y minus 7 equals negative 1 over 5 x. Now, you know what? I just realized I made a mistake, and I'm glad I did this because I'll be able to show you guys what's wrong with that. The slope of this line right here was negative 1/2, or negative 1 over 5. So that means if I want to find a line perpendicular to it at this dot right here, that means I have to find the opposite reciprocal of negative 1 over 5, which is 5 over 1, or just 5. So now I can write it in point slope form. So that's y minus 7 equals 5 x minus 5. If I would have put negative 1/5 right here, it would have given me a line parallel to Main Street, not perpendicular. Glad I caught myself on that. So distribute the 5. It makes it a lot easier so I don't have to work with fractions. Y minus 7 equals 5x minus 25. That's a negative 7, so we're going to add 7. And we're going to get y equals 5x minus 18. Because negative 25 plus 7 is a negative 18. So what that means is from this line right here, even though it says just to write an equation, here's our answer. But just to show you guys, the slope of our line is 5x. So if I go to this dot and I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and over 1, or if I go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1, you guys will see if I make a line here, that line would be perpendicular to Main Street.